The grieving CEO freezes upon seeing the waitress journalist who shatters his cold heart. The cafe was alive with the rhythm of clinking cups and the whisper of conversations. Nathan Pierce sat alone at a corner table, staring into the depths of his black coffee. His sharp business mind was at war with a swirling storm inside him. Today was just another dreary Tuesday, but it felt heavier, laden with memories of what he had lost. It had been a year since his wife's passing, leaving only echoes of laughter and shadows of warmth in the corners of his heart. Grief had wrapped around him like a cold blanket, tightening its grip as he buried himself in his tech empire's success. Outside, the world continued spinning, but inside, Nathan felt stuck, trapped in a day that refused to change. Just as he began to lose himself in thoughts of her, he noticed a flicker of movement from the corner of his eye. He looked up, and time seemed to freeze. There she was, Mia, the waitress, but their paths had never really crossed. Until now. Mia's presence electrified the air between them. Her hair caught the dim light, framing her face like a halo, though the weight of unspoken words hung heavy. In that instant, recognition sparked in their eyes, igniting something deep within Nathan's chest. He felt a tightness, a lump in his throat. It was an emotion he hadn't dared to feel for so long. A flicker of hope. Just as she approached his table, a sudden, shrill ring shattered the moment. Nathan's phone buzzed violently against the wood, dragging him back into the chaos of his corporate life. He was already late for a meeting about a looming crisis threatening his company, something he couldn't ignore. Yet with Mia so close, the urgency of his responsibilities drowned in a wave of uncertainty. He glanced at her and saw the knowing smile slipping from her lips. It was like watching the last petal fall from a dying flower. The warmth he felt moments ago turned icy. Mia's brow furrowed slightly, an echo of frustration crossing her features. She was brave enough to confront the highest powers, yet Nathan felt his armor of icy indifference slipping. He wanted to reach out, to explain, but how could he when he didn't understand it himself? Panic surged through him, an old fear haunting his solitude, and reminding him of the risk that came with being vulnerable. As he hesitated, torn between the corporate emergency dragging him away and the unexpected connection at his fingertips, he could sense that this moment could transform everything, but only if he chose to embrace it. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're there, leave. She just uncovered a secret that shook the ground beneath her. Jason, standing with his arms crossed, looked almost defiant, as if daring her to push further. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. "What do you mean by, 'you didn't tell me everything'?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. It felt like her insides twisted in. Kelly's pulse raced as a man burst through the door, panting and wild-eyed. Help! Somebody's been... His words stumbled out like a child tripping over their own feet. Grungy, mud-splattered, his clothes torn, he staggered toward them. What happened? Jason stepped forward, fists clenched. His bravado faltered in the face of this chaos. Down by the docks! The man gasped, eyes wild with fear. It's bad. There's blood everywhere. A chill shot through Kelly like ice water. Blood? What do you mean? She breathed, fighting against the rising panic clenching her throat. Who's bleeding? The man shook his head almost in disbelief. I don't know. I saw there was fighting, a woman screaming. I ran, but then I... His words fell away as he stared at Jason. What? What is it? Jason shouted, anger bubbling over. Was that your girlfriend? Kelly felt a sharp twist in her gut. Her breath hitched, and she caught her Jason's gaze brimming with uncertainty and dread. Wait, what do you know? Before he could answer, another figure appeared in the doorway. This one, dressed in a suit, exuded an intimidating calm that felt out of place. Richard, Jason breathed, recognition lacing his voice. Jason, Richard replied evenly, you need to come with me. It's urgent. Without a moment's thought, Jason turned to Kelly, his expression torn. You'll be okay, won't you? But it was the way Richard's eyes flickered to the man in the dirtied clothes that sent a jolt through her. A chilling realization settled in Kelly's bones. She's with me, Richard said, his voice smooth but commanding. No, Kelly shouted, instincts flaring. I don't want to go anywhere with you. But Jason was already moving, caught in a current far stronger than her protests. Stay put, he shouted back as Richard pulled him toward the door. And in that fleeting moment, Kelly saw it all. The way Jason looked over his shoulder, the tension in his jaw, the panic, the urgency. Something deeper had shifted, a darker truth lurking just out of sight. Something that bound them all together in ways she'd never expected. The door slammed. Silence. Then, the man gasped again, his hands trembling. You don't know what they're hiding. You need to get out. Her breath hitched again, fear clawing up her spine. What were they hiding? What had Jason not told her? And in the eerie stillness that followed, the weight of their secrets pressed down on her. Secrets she'd been desperate to uncover. But what if the truth was darker than she ever imagined? The shadows deepened around her. Her world unraveled further with each passing heartbeat. She stared into the void, the unknown stretching before her like an open wound. Would she be able to handle whatever it was waiting to be revealed? Kelly stood frozen, heart racing, the weight of fear pressing down on her. The man's words echoed in her mind. You need to get out. She felt trapped, caught in a web of secrets and urgency. What are they hiding? She whispered, more to herself than anyone else. She scanned the room, searching for answers in the shadows. The space felt suddenly smaller, the air thicker with tension. The man's terrified expression haunted her. Just then, a loud thud came from the door they had exited through, causing her to jump. Her breath hitched as she turned to face the remains of the room. Something wasn't right. The quiet had turned ominous. She felt the tremor of her hands and fought against the panic clawing at her chest. Suddenly, the door burst open, and in stumbled Jason, disheveled, panic-stricken. Kelly, get back! The urgency in his voice sent a chill down her spine. She took a step back instinctively. What was happening? Jason, what's going on? She asked, her voice shaking, emotions swirling. His eyes darted around the room, wide with fear. "We need to leave now!" Before she could process his words, Richard followed him in. But something was off. His usual calm demeanor had crumbled. There was an edge to his presence, a tension that hadn't been there before. And then it happened. With a resounding crash, an explosion erupted outside, shaking the walls around them. The glass in the windows shattered, raining down shards like deadly confetti. She screamed, a high-pitched note of pure terror. As debris fell around them, time seemed to stretch. The man who had warned her collapsed to the ground, hands clutching his face, blood seeping through his fingers. Kelly stared, frozen. What was happening? "Get down!" Jason shouted, reaching for her, pulling her toward him. But just as his arms wrapped around her, Richard broke away, moving toward the door. "You can't leave!" Kelly cried out, panic rising. Richard turned sharply, his eyes glinting with something darker. "You don't understand," he hissed. "I didn't want you to find out this way." "What do you mean?" Her heart pounded, confusion flooding her senses. He took a breath, voice steadying. "You think Jason works for you? He's been playing both sides. It was always about the money. I thought you were smarter." The words hit Kelly like a punch to the gut. "What? No! That's not true. Look at him, Kelly. He's not who you think he is." Jason's grip tightened, his expression shifting from concern to something hard and uncompromising. "Don't listen to him, Kelly. He's lying." But doubt crept into her mind. She had only just begun to peel back the layers of Jason's world, and now this? The gut-wrenching confusion sliced through her. The sirens wailed outside, and Richard stepped closer, urgency returning. "You have to trust me! They're coming for you! For both of you! We need to go!" As he spoke, another explosion rocked the street. The ground shifted beneath her feet. Jason's eyes darkened, and for the first time, she saw the undercurrent of something fierce and raw. "You won't take her," he said tightly. "Jason, what's happening?" Kelly gasped, torn between the man she thought she knew and the revelations tumbling around her. "None of this was supposed to happen," Jason spat, the intensity of his emotions spilling over. "You're in danger, Kelly. You need to trust me." But before she could respond, Richard lunged forward, tackling Jason. They crashed to the floor in a tangle of limbs. She stumbled back, watching the chaos unfold. As their fight erupted, something flickered in Jason's expression. A hint of something she hadn't seen before. A glance shot between the two men, heavy with betrayal, as if each held a key to a truth she couldn't grasp. And as Kelly stood there, frozen in disbelief, the truth of everything shifted. The entire landscape of her reality twisted, unraveling in a maelstrom of confusion. "What are they hiding?" she whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. Just then, another violent explosion rattled the room, and the lights flickered off, plunging her into darkness. In the chaos, she felt a sense of foreboding creep in. Whatever was happening, it was only the beginning. The darkness felt alive, a heavy blanket pressing down on Kelly. Her heart raced as she looked between Jason and Richard, their fight spilling into the shadows. Every muffled thud was a reminder of the chaos outside. But she couldn't focus on that, not now. She needed answers. "Stop it!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the darkness. She had to make them listen. "What's going on? Tell me the truth!" The room held its breath. Richard shoved Jason off, both men panting heavily. The tension was suffocating, a thick fog. "You need to understand, Kelly," Richard said, his voice low, eyes locked onto hers. "You're not just a bystander in this. You're part of a bigger game." "A game? What are you talking about?" She shook her head, overwhelmed. Jason stepped in front of her, protective but wild-eyed. "Stop! This isn't the time! You shouldn't be hearing this!" And that's when it happened. A blinding flash illuminated the room. The lights flickered back on for just a moment before plunging them back into chaos. A deafening boom followed, shaking the very walls. The ground quaked, and it felt as if the world was collapsing. "Get down!" Jason yelled. Kelly dropped, heart racing. Dust exploded around them, choking the air. A jagged piece of metal crashed against the wall, narrowly missing her. Shards of debris rained down, their sharp edges glinting ominously. She gasped, fear clawing at her throat. "Jason!" The fight forgotten, they scrambled for cover. But just as she pressed against the ground, another figure emerged from the dust, silhouetted against the brightness. It was a woman. Staggering but fierce, she moved forward, bloodied but determined. "Stop! You're all in danger!" The woman's voice pierced through the din, each word electric with urgency. "Who are you?" Richard demanded, eyes narrowing. "I came to warn you," she panted, pushing back her hair, revealing a face marred by cuts. "You have no idea what you're involved in." "Get away!" Jason shouted, stepping closer to Kelly, shielding her instinctively. But her presence was startling. Kelly's instincts kicked in. Something about her felt familiar. "Wait, do I know you?" The woman's gaze flickered over to Kelly, recognition flashing in her eyes. I'm your sister." The world fell silent. Kelly's breath hitched, a lump forming in her throat. "What? No, that can't be." She looked at Jason, and the shock in his expression mirrored her own disbelief. "You're lying. I don't have a sister." "Your parents," the woman struggled, desperation flickering in her gaze. "They hid everything. I was supposed to protect you. But it's too late now. They're coming. They want you dead." Panic surged through Kelly. "What are you talking about? Who wants me?" Suddenly, Jason took a step back, his expression shifting. "Wait, if she's your sister." He turned to Richard, the realization dawning on him. "This changes everything." "Get out," Kelly shouted, frustration splitting through her fear. "Get out of my life with this nonsense." "Kelly, listen, you have to come with me." Just then, a siren wailed from outside, piercing the air with a chilling urgency. A collective silence fell, suffocating the tension. Kelly's heart raced. Was this really true? Was she part of something so much larger? The world around her cracked apart, and her entire reality, the life she thought she knew, crumbled in an instant. But as the woman stepped into the flickering light, Kelly felt something shift within her. Part of her wanted to run, to hide from the truth that threatened to consume her. But another part, a powerful surge of need, craved the connection, the answers, and in a heartbeat, just as she was about to respond, the door slammed open again. A dark figure stepping through, silhouetted by the blinding light of the hall. "Get away from her!" a voice commanded. And in that moment, everything shifted once again. Who was this intruder? Whom did they truly serve? And for Kelly, the night of revelations was just beginning. The door slammed open, and a figure stepped into the chaos. Everyone froze, eyes snapping to the newcomer. It was a man, tall and imposing, with a fierce gaze that promised trouble. The room felt electric. "Get away from her!" he barked, eyes pinning Jason. Kelly's breath caught in her throat, confusion swirling. "Who was this guy? Who are you?" Jason demanded, stepping in front of Kelly, instinctively protecting her. But the man didn't waver, his intensity only growing. "No time for games," he snapped. "We need to leave, now." "Leave?" Kelly echoed, confusion lacing her voice. "Why? What's happening?" Suddenly, the woman claiming to be Kelly's sister lifted her chin, her expression fierce. "It's him, Kelly. He's the one who put us all at risk." The man looked incredulous. "What? No, I'm trying to save you." "Save us?" The words pricked at Kelly's heart. Everything was unraveling. "What do you mean?" Without warning, Richard, still reeling from the earlier chaos, lunged at the newcomer, but the man sidestepped, catching him off guard. With a swift movement, he wrestled Richard to the ground, pinning him down. "Enough!" he barked, eyes blazing. "You're not going to put her in danger." This battle, this wild move, echoed through the room, sending a ripple of shock among them. Kelly's heart raced, eyes darting between the men. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of impending doom. As Richard struggled beneath the weight of the man, he hissed, "You don't understand what you're meddling with." "Enough with the secrets," the man shouted back, his voice stern. "I'm tired of lies. It's time for the truth." The room went silent. Eyes shifted from the man to Richard, then to Kelly. She felt a tightness in her chest. What truth? Before she could process, the lights flickered again, a haunting reminder of what they were up against. Just then, a sudden loud explosion rattled the building. Dust rained down like confetti, and the sound of shattered glass filled the air. "Oh my God!" Kelly screamed, instinctively moving closer to Jason, who pulled her tight against him. But in that brief moment of chaos, she caught a glimpse of something in the corner of her vision. The woman, her supposed sister, was clutching a small object, something shiny. "What's that?" Kelly asked, panic rising in her voice. The woman hesitated, and in that instant, the man looking to protect them shouted, "Don't!" But it was too late. The woman lifted the object, and everything slowed. In her hand was a pendant, the light sparkling dangerously. "You need to know," she began, but her voice was drowned out by another furious blast outside. The walls shook violently, and in a split second, the door behind them burst open again. A group of armed men stormed in, faces masked, weapons raised. "Get down!" someone shouted, but it was too chaotic to tell who. Time stopped as the tension filled the air. Kelly's world tilted on its axis. The man who claimed to protect her could be lying. Jason's face twisted in fear, and Richard's secrets hung in the air like a noose. All she could think was, who could she trust? Each pulse of her heart was a frantic question. The world spun, and just like that, everything shattered. In the storm of confusion, the pendant slipped from her sister's hand, crashing to the ground. The sound echoed like an omen. With one final explosion, the room erupted into chaos as the masked figures rushed forward. Shadows danced in the chaos. Kelly felt her chest tighten, breath hitching. "Cover her!" Jason yelled. But she was already stepping back, her mind racing. Who was she really? What danger loomed just beyond their breaths? The shards of the pendant glistened on the floor, a haunting reminder of the truth yet to come, leaving only darkness in its wake. The room exploded into chaos. The masked figures advanced, guns raised, eyes calculating. Kelly's breath caught in her throat. The pendant lay shattered before her, a symbol of everything unraveling. "Get down!" Jason yelled, pulling her close, shielding her from the onslaught. Dust swirled in the air, thickening with tension. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a frantic bird trying to escape a cage. "Who are they?" Kelly gasped, confusion and fear crashing over her in waves. She glanced at Richard, who was still wrestling with the newcomer, desperate to maintain control. The air reeked of smoke and fear, shrill shouts intermingling with the hurried footsteps of the intruders. "Focus," Jason urged, turning to her, eyes dark with determination. "We need to get out, now!" But then there was the woman, the one claiming to be her sister. She stepped forward, shaking, but defiant. "No, you have to listen. They're here for a reason. It's not just about you, Kelly." Her words cut through the chaos. "What do you mean?" Kelly's eyes darted between Jason and the woman. "What is happening?" Suddenly, the figure who had charged in to protect them turned, panic glinting in his eyes. "Trust me, we can't stay here." He pushed Richard away, shoving him aside. "Who are you?" Richard bellowed, scrambling to regain footing. "You think you can just—" Before he could finish, one of the masked men shouted, "Don't let them escape!" A shot rang out, and the sound sliced through the air. It shattered the moment, echoing long after the gun went off. Kelly felt a jolt of pure fear shoot through her. "Run!" Jason commanded, grasping Kelly's hand. The group surged back, but the path was blocked. The walls seemed to close in. Time froze, as if the universe held its breath. Just then, the woman clutched her pendant. No, the remains of it. "You don't understand. They want to silence us. They think we know too much." "What do you know?" Jason urged. But before she could respond, another explosion ripped through the building, the force sending debris tumbling. A plume of dust filled the air, stinging their eyes. Kelly stumbled, trying to find her footing, but the noise was deafening. In the chaotic whirlwind, one of the masked men shouted, "He's the target! Find him!" Kelly's heart skipped a beat. Their focus was shifting. Who were they talking about? The terror in her chest spread like wildfire. Suddenly, amidst the rumble and shouting, the man who had urged them to leave locked eyes with Kelly. In that moment, something broke. "Kelly, he began. But before he finished, chaos erupted again. Another gun fired, a blinding flash of light, followed by a scream that pierced through the cacophony. "Run!" Jason yelled, pulling her toward the door. She felt the adrenaline surging through her veins. But the room spun wildly. Just then, the woman's sister flung herself in front of them. "Wait, I have to tell you!" But before she could finish, Jason shoved Kelly behind him. "Stay back!" And that's when everything shifted. A figure emerged from the cloud of smoke and chaos, wielding an unexpected weapon, a remote. He pressed a button, and the wall behind him exploded outward, revealing a hidden escape route. Panic surged. Kelly's heart raced as she realized this man wasn't on their side. "No!" she screamed. But it was too late. The woman suddenly turned, revealing a shocking gaze. You were never meant to find out. What? Her mind reeled. A betrayal stung. The very last person she thought she could trust was now standing against her. The chaos around her faded, and she felt a weight in her chest, cold and heavy. "Get her!" the newcomer shouted as he lunged forward. At that instant, Jason shouted something she couldn't quite catch. The words faded as the woman's sister vanished into the shadows, leaving Kelly and Jason wide-eyed and breathless. Trust shattered. The truth hung thick in the air, revealing layers of betrayal, danger, and a destiny she never wanted. "Kelly, we need to go!" Jason urged, the urgency clear in his voice. But the world around her felt like it was crumbling. Should she follow Jason, or confront the truth she just learned? What was real? Who was really on her side? She clutched her heart, torn between fear and the desperate need for answers. And then, in that moment of paralyzing uncertainty, everything went dark again. The floor beneath them shook, and a chilling silence fell. Would they escape? What awaited them if they did? The questions loomed, unanswered and heavy as the shadows closed in. The floor shook again, and the air thickened with dust. Kelly's heart raced as the world around her fell apart. She blinked through the chaos, her vision blurred. Jason held her close, but the weight of confusion sat heavily on her chest. "Come on! We can't stay here!" he yelled, but she was frozen. A whirlwind of thoughts collided. The woman claiming to be her sister, Richard's hidden agenda, the masked intruders. It was all too much. And then everything changed. The newcomer, the man who had shouted to protect them, lunged forward. He was moving fast, but Kelly felt like her feet were glued to the floor. "We have to go now!" But before he could grab anyone, the lights flickered back to life, and in that brief instant, they all froze. A loud crash sounded from the hallway, and then silence fell, thick and eerie. Kelly could feel the tension boiling over. Would the chaos start again? That's when it happened. The ground shook harder, and the walls around them began to crack. Dust spiraled into the air, and then a piece of the ceiling above crumbled down, revealing a hidden chamber beyond. A figure emerged, dripping with shadows. "No, this can't be! I told you to stay hidden!" The voice sent chills down Kelly's spine. It was a woman, but not just any woman. She looked just like her. The resemblance was striking. Same hair, same eyes. The only difference was the coldness in her gaze, a glint of something dangerous lurking within. "Who are you?" Kelly gasped, voice trembling. This wasn't just shocking, it felt unreal. "I am you," the woman hissed, a twisted smile on her lips. "Or rather, the version of you they never told you about." "What?" Kelly's mind raced. "This doesn't make sense." Jason stepped back, uncertainty flickering across his face. "What the hell are you talking about?" The room buzzed with tension, each person staring in disbelief at the figure before them. The woman shrugged. "I'm what happens when you unfold the truth. The truth your family fears." "No, this isn't real!" Kelly shouted, fighting against the shot of panic coursing through her veins. "You can't be real!" "Isn't she?" the woman replied, stepping closer. "And what is reality, anyway? You thought you had a normal life, Kelly, but that life, it's all a lie." Somehow, the air grew colder, the atmosphere thickening with dread. She looked around, feeling the weight of every gaze, the disbelief morphing into something deeper. twisting the knife of revelation deeper. Why was this happening? An explosion of sound roared from the hallway as the masked men pressed closer, close enough to hear their heavy breathing laden with adrenaline. "Make a choice, Kelly," the woman taunted, eyes flashing with menace. "Stay with them or join the truth? Your path splits here." A thunderous boom echoed as the figures surged forward, and in that split second, Kelly felt her mind crack under the pressure. She turned to Jason, his face a mask of confusion. Then to Richard, who was still wrestling with the newcomer. And finally, back to the woman. "Join you? Why would I do that?" "Because your real family is waiting for you." But before she could finish, another blast rocked the building. With a shriek, the lights flickered out again, plunging them into darkness. In that moment of chaos, a piercing scream echoed through the room. "Get down!" Jason shouted, pulling Kelly close, and as they dropped to the ground, reality twisted again. Her sister, the one they thought was lost, howling like a wraith in the shadows. "You can't hide from this!" Kelly clutched Jason's hand tighter, heart pounding. She had to choose. But before she could respond, the mask slipped from the truth she thought she knew. A shocking realization crashed down on her. Everything she believed, every relationship, every choice was crumbling before her very eyes. And with one last echoing scream, everything went black. The darkness pressed in around them, thick like smoke, but the chaos raged on. Kelly squeezed Jason's hand tighter, the pounding of her heart matching the frantic beats of everything falling apart around them. The woman, her sister, loomed close, shrouded in shadows, eyes glinting like a predator's. "You're not safe, Kelly." A loud crash shook the building as another explosion tore through the air. She felt the vibrations crawl up her legs, sending chills through her. "What do you mean?" Kelly shouted back, desperation lining her voice. Their sister was still making those insane claims, but all she could think was how everything felt like a nightmare. "You can't drag me into this." Kelly's throat was tight, panic clawing at her insides. Jason pushed her behind him, muscles tense, eyes scanning the chaos, like a hawk ready to fight. "Stay close," he commanded. But she could see the uncertainty creeping in. His confidence seemed to crack under the pressure, just like the walls around them. And then it happened. The woman, her eyes wild, began to glow with a strange, eerie light. Kelly's stomach dropped as she took a step back. "No, don't!" But the woman raised a hand, and suddenly the pendant, the shards of it on the floor, shot toward her like a magnet. It hovered between them, vibrating with energy, lighting up the dark spaces around them. And that moment, that surreal flash of power, was enough to freeze everyone. "It's your birthright," she declared, voice echoing, trembling with the weight of it. "You don't know who you are." "What are you talking about?" Kelly gasped, feeling the ground sway beneath her. "What are you?" "He doesn't know either." She pointed at Jason, and the accusation hung in the air like a heavy fog. "You're all caught in a web, a trap set by those who want to keep the truth hidden. A truth that will change everything." And then, as if summoned by her words, the masked intruders burst into the room. The atmosphere turned electric. One of them, the leader, his face shrouded in darkness, marched forward. "Get her," he shouted. Time seemed to slow. Adrenaline surged. Jason stepped forward, fists clenched. "No! Get back!" he yelled. But the man didn't listen, eyes locked onto the glowing pendant. Suddenly, a flash of realization hit Kelly. The pendant wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was something powerful, something dangerous. "No!" she screamed, but the words came too late. Before she could process anything, it happened. The pendant exploded into a burst of blinding light, filling the room with a surge of energy. Light enveloped the masked figures, pushing them back, their forms colliding with the walls. She could scarcely breathe, the force of the magic slamming into her chest. And then, just as quickly as it started, silence fell. The room dimmed, and amidst the destruction, a new figure emerged. Tall and imposing, with familiar features. "Mother?" Kelly gasped, confusion tightening her throat. The woman, her mother, stood before them, alive and unscathed. A storm raged in her gaze. "You need to understand, Kelly," her mother said, voice steady. "You were never supposed to find out." "What?" Kelly's breath quickened. "Why lie? Why all this danger?" "No," the woman interjected sharply, holding up a hand. "It's not a lie, it's a legacy. You have powers, things you can't even begin to understand, and they will kill to keep it hidden." Jason, still beside Kelly, looked stunned. This changes everything." But before anyone could process the weight of that revelation, the room shook again. Unstable light blinked, and the masked leader pushed through the wreckage, a fierce glint of fury in his eyes. "Not if I have anything to say about it," he roared. Behind him, more figures emerged, backs straight, eyes burning with a singular mission. In that moment, everything shifted again. Kelly's mind reeled. Who was telling the truth? What were her powers? What did it all mean? And just as she felt herself on the brink of understanding, the leader lunged forward, his hands reaching out for her. Everything erupted into chaos once more, as the uncertain edges of her reality contorted, leaving her staring into the abyss of her true self, ready to collapse under the weight of it all. The darkness pressed in as the masked leader lunged for Kelly, his hands reaching out like claws. Jason stepped in front of her, fierce determination etched across his face. Everything spiraled into chaos. A shot rang out, piercing the air. A body fell. "No!" Kelly screamed, her heart thundering. But it wasn't Jason. It was Richard. He crumpled to the ground, eyes wide, blood pooling beneath him. Everything froze. The world stopped as gasps filled the air. The shooter, another masked figure, stood frozen too, shock hanging in the silence. Kelly blinked, disbelief washing over her. Richard was gone, just like that. "That's not possible!" Jason's voice shook. His hands clenched into fists, rage boiling over. "You killed him!" "No, it wasn't me!" the shooter shouted, stepping back, panic flashing across his face. "I swear it was an accident!" The words lingered, heavy in the air. Kelly felt the world tilt beneath her. Richard had been her ally, maybe even her friend. Now he lay lifeless, and the reality twisted like a knife in her gut. Why did it have to be him? Suddenly, the woman claiming to be her sister stepped forward, eyes burning. "This is just the beginning. The truth is..." But Jason cut her off, fury channeling through him. You, he pointed accusingly. You brought us here. You played us all. No! No! She retorted, stepping back. I tried to warn you. I'm trying to protect you. Protect us? He spat, voice dripping with anger. Lies don't protect people. Enough, the newcomer shouted, desperate. They're coming! We need to leave, now! The ground rumbled again, stronger this time. More explosions sounded outside. Dust swirled through the air. The walls trembled like they could collapse any second. Why did you bring us here? What's going on? Kelly's voice trembled, trying to understand. She looked down at Richard's still body, her chest tightening. A tidal wave of instincts told her to run, but she felt chained by grief and fury. The woman, her sister, looked torn. We're all in danger. There's a war unfolding, and you're at its center. Center? Kelly gasped, fear fizzing in her stomach. What kind of war? But before she could answer, the masked leader charged again. Swinging a weapon with a growl, Jason pushed Kelly aside just as a sickening thud echoed through the air. Another body fell, another life lost. No, look out! That was all Kelly could cry as chaos exploded again. How many lives would be lost tonight? Would they all die here, in this haunted place? The woman's pendant glinted fiercely at her feet, a beacon of power daring to break them from their despair. Kelly, you have to take it, she cried. It can protect you. Protect me? Kelly's mind reeled, uncertainty clawing at her heart. But Jason's face shifted again, determination etched in his features. No, we have to go. Right now. Then the unthinkable happened. In an instant, the pendant shot toward her, brightening like the sun. Its energy exploded, filling the room with a golden light. Frozen in awe, Kelly felt something twist inside her. Just as she might grasp the truth, the ground beneath her began to quake violently, and everything spiraled into a whirlpool of light. And in that blinding moment, a shocking truth struck her like lightning. Kelly! The woman screamed, eyes wide with fear. Stop! You can't control it! But it was too late. The light enveloped her, and everything faded into a deafening silence. When the chaos settled, Kelly blinked, and her senses returned. She looked around. But everything was different. She wasn't standing in the ruined room anymore. She was somewhere else. Standing before her were figures shrouded in shadows, faces masked. They were not the men who had attacked them. These felt different, more sinister, more dangerous. And in that moment, reality shifted yet again. The leader of these new figures stepped forward, pulling down his mask. Hello, Kelly, he said, his voice cold as ice. Welcome to the true world. But as he stared into her eyes, she recognized him. It was someone she had trusted, someone she never expected to see here. Jason? Her voice cracked, disbelief washing over her. What is this? And a terrible truth dawned on her. Everything she thought she understood, every relationship she held dear, was built on a fragile web of deceit. Tears welled in her eyes. You were part of this all along? Surprise, Jason said, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly. And as the realization hit her like a tidal wave, everything she knew crumbled away. The darkness swallowed her heart, leaving a chasm of betrayal that would change the course of her life forever. Kelly's world spun in chaotic confusion as Jason stood before her, shadows swirling around them like a storm. His face was a mixture of regret and determination, his eyes pleading for understanding. "I didn't want it to come to this," he said softly, almost breaking. "Then why didn't you tell me the truth?" Kelly shouted, tears blurring her vision. "Why betray everything we had?" Jason opened his mouth to respond, but the masked leader cut in, his cold grin sending shivers down her spine. "You really think he cares about you?" he sneered, stepping closer. "He's just another pawn in their game, just like everyone else." Kelly's heart raced. She could feel the weight of betrayal pressed upon her chest, tight like a vice. She wanted to scream, to run, but her feet felt cemented to the floor. The pulsing energy from the shattered pendant lingered, a reminder of what she could become. "Get away from her!" Jason yelled, pushing Kelly back toward the door. But there was nowhere to retreat. The shadows seemed to close in, almost alive, taunting her with the mockery of safety. "Can't you see? They'll never let you go!" The woman, the one claiming to be her sister, shouted, stepping forward. "You're part of something bigger, Kelly. You're destined for more." "Destined for what?" Kelly replied, voice trembling. "More confusion? More loss?" Just then, the ground shook again, and Kelly could feel her heart pounding in her throat. Dust fell from the ceiling like confetti, and the lights flickered, revealing panic-stricken faces. "Fight back! We don't have much time!" Jason's voice sliced through the chaos, reigniting her resolve. Her sister reached out, desperation in her eyes. "You can harness the power. Use the pendant. Fight with us." It was too much. So much was happening. In that moment, they were enveloped in the chaos of emotions. Doubt, anger, and fear swirling into a tempest. But within her, something sparked, a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. It was there, thrumming beneath layers of pain, urging her forward. "Fine!" Kelly shouted, taking a deep breath. "Let's end this!" She surged forward, heart pounding. She dove towards the pendant, gripping it tightly. An electric jolt surged through her, sending a rush of power that knocked everyone back. The glowing fragments enveloped her, illuminating the room with a fierce light. "Now!" she shouted, energy erupting from her hands, radiating into the air. The masked leader's expression shifted from arrogance to shock as the energy surged toward him. "No, you can't!" he screamed, but it was already too late. The blast of energy collided, enveloping him like a vibrant storm. There was a sudden stillness, then a deafening silence, followed by an explosion of light that shattered the walls. When the light faded, Kelly gasped. She was surrounded by rubble, but felt different. Stronger, alive. Jason caught her gaze, his eyes wide with awe and fear. "You did it!" But before they could celebrate, their sister gripped Kelly's arm, urgency coursing through her. "We need to go. They won't stop coming. They want you back. We can't stick around." Together, they moved, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Just as they found their footing and rushed toward the exit, the shadows shifted again. More masked figures poured into the room. But this time, they were met with a wave of light emanating from Kelly, cutting through the darkness. "Go, now!" Jason yelled, pushing her ahead of him. The urgency in his voice lit a fire in her chest, and she didn't look back. As they escaped into the cool night air, they panted heavily, taking in the reality of their freedom. But as Kelly glanced back one last time, she could feel the weight of what lay ahead, a mystery still unwritten, a path filled with uncertainty. Where do we go from here? She asked, heart racing. Her sister looked at her, determination blazing. To the truth. To protect what's ours. We keep fighting. And in that moment, amidst the echoes of their past and the shadows of what was yet to come, Kelly felt hope rekindle, fragile but fiercely alive. The night was dark, but together they would find the way. Subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the next exclusive story. You need to hit that like button too. Fight for the algorithm. Flood the comments with your thoughts and reactions to this wild ending. I want to hear from you. And hey, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know that nothing is as it seems. Don't wait another second. True fans like you understand the importance of supporting the channel with every action.